If you feel that you have been discriminated against, you can file a human rights complaint. Discrimination occurs when you treat people differently because of their personal characteristics, and it affects them negatively. Personal characteristics are things like age, race, religion, or gender. If you think you are being discriminated against, you should contact us at the BC Human Rights Coalition. We can help you in a number of ways. We provide a human rights clinic. Staff at the clinic can give information and advice to anyone who thinks they may have been discriminated against and can help them file a complaint. The clinic operates every Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on a first-come, first-served basis at the BC Human Rights Tribunal offices at 1170 605 Robson Street in Vancouver. If you do not live in Vancouver, you can call 604-689-8474 or on our toll-free number at 1-877-689-8474 or fax 604-689-7511 for general help. If someone discriminates against you, you can file a complaint about them to the BC Human Rights Tribunal, which is a government agency that hears human rights complaints. It is like a court. Or if someone discriminated against you in a place overseen by the Government of Canada, like in a bank, you would call the Canadian Human Rights Commission offices for further information. But you can still come to us for help to get your complaint started and find out if you should file it with the BC Human Rights Tribunal or the Canadian Human Rights Commission. The BC Human Rights Coalition can help you make the complaint and arrange for an interpreter if you need one. We provide this service across BC, and it's free.
Is there a time limit on filing human rights complaints?
Yes. If you want to file a complaint with the BC Human Rights Tribunal, you have 6 months to do it after the discrimination happens. Sometimes the tribunal will let you go over the 6-month time limit, but you would need a very good reason.
What's involved in filing a complaint?
You will have to fill out one of the tribunal's complaint forms, which ask you to describe what happened, who you are, and who you are complaining about. You should be as detailed as possible, and your description should include this information: the date the discrimination happened, the place where it happened, what happened, and why what happened had a negative impact on you. Why you think what happened was because of one of your personal characteristics. You should also keep copies of any evidence that you might have. It will be needed later in the process. It is important to preserve your evidence so that you can prove your case, and also to show that you were damaged. The tribunal will require you and the other party to provide all evidence that is relevant to your complaint, so keep copies of everything. At the tribunal hearing, a tribunal member will hear your case. A tribunal member is like a judge. All of the information in your complaint is useful in helping the member understand your specific situation. It can help you win your case. The complaint form will also ask you to say if you are interested in trying to resolve the complaint early on in this process. This is usually a good choice because you can get a resolution earlier. It also provides more flexibility in settlement because you and whoever discriminated against you can agree to what you both want and don't have to do what the tribunal orders.
Where can I get a form?
You can get a complaint form from the tribunal. Their offices are in downtown Vancouver. Or you can visit its website for an online version. You can also visit your local government agent office, as it has online access to forms and user guidelines. We also have the forms at our office and clinics.
What's a complaint process?
After you submit a complaint form, the tribunal has to decide whether it will accept the complaint. If it accepts your complaint, someone at the tribunal office will become your case manager. The tribunal will send a copy of your complaint form to whoever discriminated against you. It will ask that person to provide his or her side of the story in writing. Generally, once the complaint is accepted, the parties can agree to attend an early settlement meeting. Usually occurs within 3 to 4 months. You would be there, the person who discriminated against you would be there, and there would also be a trained person called a mediator that works for the tribunal. The mediator will not make a decision on the case that day, but tries to help you and the person who discriminated against you work out a solution for yourselves. Both you and the other person could bring along a lawyer or advocate too. The BC Human Rights Coalition can help prepare you for the meeting. If you are accepted by the Coalition for Representation, a person like me can help you understand the law, the process, and your options. We can also help you determine what a reasonable settlement might be. If you and the person who discriminated against you do not want to meet, the other person has 35 days to file their defense, and, if they want to, an application to dismiss the complaint. The application to dismiss would explain his or her version of what occurred and explain that you were mistaken and that there was no discrimination. The tribunal makes a decision about whether the case should proceed or not. If the case is dismissed, it is over. If it is not dismissed, you would go to a hearing and try to prove your case. A hearing is just like a trial in a court. Both you and the person who discriminated against you would present your evidence and witnesses. The person who discriminated against you can ask questions to your witnesses, and you can ask questions to his or her witnesses. After all the evidence is presented, the tribunal member makes a decision and says either there was discrimination or that there was no discrimination. If the member finds that there was discrimination, he or she would order a remedy. The remedy is intended to make right what was wrong. And remember, at any time during this process, the parties can agree to settle the complaint.
Could you tell us more about how the tribunal makes it right?
It depends on each person's individual case. But in general, the tribunal can tell the person who has discriminated to stop the discrimination, to give you back the right or opportunity he or she denied, to pay for actual financial losses that could be wages or moving costs, etc., to pay you compensation for hurting your feelings and injuring your dignity. Although there is no upper limit on how much money it can award, the amounts are usually not very high.
How long does it take to finish the complaint process?
It could take some time before the tribunal deals with your complaint. If the complaint settles early in the process, it is usually a matter of months. If you go to a hearing, it will be a year or slightly more.
If I filed a complaint against my boss, I am sure he would want revenge or would treat me badly.
If you have filed a human rights complaint, your boss cannot be mean to you, treat you badly, or harass you in any way because you made the human rights complaint. If he did that, you could make another complaint for retaliation to the BC Human Rights Tribunal. The thing to remember is that in Canada, we have human rights to protect us from being discriminated against. This doesn't mean that discrimination doesn't happen, but we do have a system to handle complaints and protect our human rights. If someone is discriminating against you, contact the BC Human Rights Coalition, and we can help you use the system to protect your rights.